Began Eden Shalmala. I mean, it's Behaalotcha to go. Okay, I want to share with you five new thoughts about Parshas Behaalotcha. Bezrat Hashem, we have the zchus of learning through and leading in our homes the Shabbos, the Parshas Behaalotcha, which is an unbelievable parsha. There are about probably 11 to 14 subtopics and major issues that come up with Behaalotcha. Jewish philosophy, halacha. There's so many different issues. Leadership with Moshe Rabbeinu. He has so many different challenges. Complaining, Pesach Sheni. So many fundamental. Vahi bin Sa'ar on the upside down inverted nuns. We'll discuss some of those. This week it was hard to choose. It was really hard to choose 5. Mendy mentioned that today's sponsorship is in one of the sponsorships is in memory of my grandfather. My grandfather's 50th yurtzeit will be taking place over Shabbos. He is somebody that I never met. I'm named after him, Avram Eliezer Alter. It's my grandfather. I am Avram Eliezer, as some of you may know. And he has been, for me, a continuous inspiration in my life. Even though I never met him, we continue to be inspired by his stories. Just 2 weeks ago, he had another great-grandchild named after him. We have, I think it's about 11 children, 11 grandchildren, great-grandchildren that are named after him. He was a very strong family man. And additionally, one of the lasting legacies that he had was that he built a shul. He helped with his few of his brothers. They built the shul, Young Israel Canarsie. They bought the land, they hired the rabbi, and they all served in the leadership positions in that shul. And it still is up today. It is no longer a Young Israel in Canarsie. Canarsie is a very different community for those that are familiar, but Baruch Hashem, it is still a place of Torah. I believe it is a cheder today of one of the sects of Hasidus is still using that building for Talmud Torah, Baruch Hashem. So in learning Shishiv, it's Eloi for his neshama and all of the neshamos that we are sponsored today, big on Eden Shalmala. So let's begin. Let's begin with the very beginning of the parsha. We learn about Parshas Behaalotcha. We learn about Aaron. By Yaskei and Aaron, we learn about the menorah. The first topic in our parsha is the menorah. It's almost, we're going back to Parshas Truma, where we learned originally about the menorah. And the Torah says very clearly that Aaron, right, performed the service of the menorah, lighting the menorah. It didn't necessarily have to be by the Kohen Gadol, although the Kohen Gadol had rejection rights, meaning the Kohen Gadol wanted to do anything in the Beis HaMikdash, it was his call. He can push aside whoever was there, and that was his rights and his privilege. So the Torah tells us that Aaron lit the menorah. Why Aaron lit the menorah? Because the Parshas Naso, the end of Parshas Naso, tells us about all the gifts that were given by all the Nesiim, all the princes in the Mishkan, and Aaron felt bad. He's like, what's my contribution to the Mishkan? What did I give? So Chazal say that Aaron was appeased and calmed by the fact that he is giving the lighting of the menorah, Shalcha Gedola Meshalahem, and some say the Ramban quotes an opinion that this is a reference to not just the lighting of the menorah now, but as a reference to the lighting of the menorah in the future, in the times of Hanukkah, where it's going to be the job of the Kohanim to get back the light of the Mikdash, and ultimately the menorah will be lit for 8 days miraculously. So the Torah tells us, Vayaskein Aaron al mupnei menorah ha'ala neiroseha chashir tziva Hashem es Moshe. Aaron lit the menorah. Vayaskein Aaron did what Hashem told him. So everyone asks, like, what do you mean? Aaron did what Hashem told him? Isn't that obvious? If Hashem asks us to do something, we're going to follow through. Aaron was a good person. He was a Kohen Gadol. He was a tzaddik. He's going to follow through. So Rashi says here, it's not just to teach us that Aaron followed or did what God asked him to do, but it's to add. He didn't divert one iota from what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to do. He didn't add in his own, you know what, God says this, but maybe he means this. And amazing. We have lollipops this morning. Thank God. It's before 10 o'clock. Baruch Hashem. So, Vayaskein Aaron, Rashi says, Shaloshina. He didn't change from the way that he did it. The Orach Chaim adds to this, I think, something very, very profound. especially for those that are involved in leadership. For those involved in communal leadership positions, this is a challenge, and the Orach Chaim addresses the challenge. Gam remez ba'omro kasher tziva lahodia shivcho shlam. What was the praise of Aaron that the Torah says Vayas Cain? Ki masha asa Aaron lo asao letzad hamalav hakavod asher ha'amir oso Hashem. Right? Imagine the kavod, the honor, the respect that Aaron was given. The first day that Aaron said, "You're the Kohen Gadol. You're going to do this. It's your job to do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash." Wow. And very often what happens is, in the initial leadership, when someone starts a leadership position or one's getting involved in it, it's for the purest motivations, the purest intentions, and someone gets so excited and they say, "I'm never going to get jaded. I'm never going to get knocked off my goals and what I want and my purpose." But sometimes what happens very often throughout the years is that this can happen. People can change or divert their attention, their goals, their aspirations, and make them more personal, more selfishly motivated. Unfortunately, that's what happens to human beings. Rather, what did Aaron do? We asked Aaron, Hashem. There was never any ulterior motives. Aaron always had the purest of intentions. He always wanted just to serve the Jewish people, help Klal Yisrael through and through, regardless of what happened, complaining and whatever else, but nothing jaded him. Nothing jaded him through life. I think that's a very, very important lesson. That's what Orach Chaim says. Nothing jaded him. He was never doing this for the malo, the kavod. He did this, letzad asos mitzvahs Hashem. He did this for the purest intentions, just for that. And that pure intention stayed from day 1 to day 40. Nothing veered off the path in the greatness of Aaron. It's the greatness of Aaron, something we all strive to achieve in our lives. That is the first thought from the Orach Chaim Kadosh. Secondly, I think I thought of Milty when I saw this one. We all say, how you doing? Baruch Hashem. Someone called me yesterday. They said, how you doing? I said, Baruch Hashem. They said, what does that mean? Baruch Hashem, good. Baruch Hashem, bad. Baruch Hashem, okay. Baruch Hashem, it's crazy and you don't want to answer me. Baruch Hashem, you're ignoring me. Like, what does it mean? Right? Chaste Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem. We invoke. We're learning Megillas Rus on Mondays. And we mentioned how Boaz established, one of the connotes that Boaz established was to mention Hashem's name when you greet somebody. So the Shlach HaKadosh says, you see that notion, the source for that. When we greet somebody and we enter into a conversation with somebody else, we invoke God's name. Where does that come from? It comes from the following pasuk. Al pi Hashem yachanu, va pi Hashem yisa'u. Referring to the clouds of glory that when they moved, when the Nanei HaKavod moved, we knew it was time for us to travel. So it says the Torah in our parsha, Al pi Hashem yachanu, va pi Hashem yisa'u. When we travel, when we go, when we rest, when we move, that is all determined based on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pulling the strings, right? Maybe one of the greatest lessons of Corona is that we recognize that we're really not in charge. Maybe we thought we were in charge. Maybe we thought we knew what was going on. Maybe it looked like we were. Maybe people thought we were. Maybe we thought we were. Ultimately, we're not. Al pi Hashem yachanu, Al pi Hashem yisa'u. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is, pulling us along the way and directing us and motivating us along the way. But the Shlach HaKadosh adds here, Al pi Hashem yachanu. When you're going through life and you're traveling through life and you're going, your comings and goings and your meetings and your interviews and meeting individuals and talking to people and communicating with other people, it should also be Al pi Hashem. Pi means not only through the means of, but also through the mouth of. Everything we do should be through the mouth of Hashem. We should be using Hashem, invoking Hashem's name. Mikan remez, he says, sheyaskir ha'adam b'chol yanav. There's a remez here, there's a hint in the pasuk. Sheyaskir Adam, a person should mention always b'chol inyanav b'chol pu'ulosav, in all their actions, in all their travels, in all their goings, as Hashem. We should mention Hashem's name, Be'ezras Hashem, Yirtza Hashem, and Baruch Hashem. Right? That's a shlach. It was a very nice thought from the Shlach HaKadosh over here. It's a quickie. It's a quick one. Two of the next three final thoughts for today are from Rabbi Lamb. I'm going to try to, over the next few weeks at least, in this context, to share words of Torah from Rabbi Lamb. We're still in, we're I think right out of Shiva. But one of Rabbi Lamb's most famous drushos that he gave, I think, is one of the more often quoted drushos, was the drusha from Parshas Behaalotcha. And in Parshas Behaalotcha, one of the more well-known parts of Behaalotcha, which I mentioned in the introduction, was Vayhi bin Sar Aaron, the inverted nuns. That in the middle of the parsha, both in our Chumashim, but also more poignantly in the Chumash, in the Torah itself, we have inverted nuns in the beginning of Shishi. Vayhi bin Sar Aaron vayomer Moshe kum Hashem vayfutzu eivacha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha. Those words, we have to think we haven't said those words in nearly 3 months. We haven't said those words. We haven't taken out the Torah from the Aron, but we know we use those words. We invoke those words every single time we take the Torah out of the Aron during the week and on Shabbos. Uvenucha Yomar, when we put the Torah back, we say the last pasuk, Yomar, Shuva Hashem, Rivos Alpha Yisrael. Bookending those two psukim are inverted nuns. Why nuns? Why is that significant? How is that connected to the Aron? The psukim here are talking about the Aron, that the Aron travels, right? And when the Aron traveled, the enemies were washed away. And also V'nucha Yomar, when referring to the rest of the Aron, when the Aron is put back, Kuma Hashem, Shuva Hashem, Rivos Alpha Yisrael. So why, when mentioning the Aron, do we have inverted nuns? So Rabbi Lamb says that the Aramaic word for nun, what is a nun in Aramaic? Nunin, nun vav nun, yud mem, are fish, mean fish. For what they mean is that the letter nun means fish, and therefore the inverted letters in nun hafukim symbolize fish. And why specifically fish? So I could send you the whole drasha. You could find it online yourself. There's an archive for all of Rabbi Lamb's drashos through the YU Library website. And he writes here the following, that fish represent swimming upstream, hence the name of the drasha. They go against the tide. They swim against the stream. They are counterintuitive to the entire culture. He says they swim upstream against the tide, against the currents and tendencies of their surroundings. It is this remarkable quality which characterizes the true Jew and distinguishes him from the pagan. Living in Jewish life, following HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his mitzvos, is something that is counterintuitive or countercultural. Countercultural is the appropriate word here, to the entire society and culture that we live in. The authentic Jew must be able to dissent, to keep apart, to be unpopular if necessary, to oppose the tide, to swim upstream. That is why the Nunin are, bookend the Aron. The Aron represents the Torah. The Torah will travel throughout the world, and that represents the Torah can go wherever we go throughout the Galus. But the Nunin represent that a Jew will always be swimming upstream. How hard that is and challenging it is, but that is our opportunity. And that's just who we are, and that's what we're supposed to project to the rest of the world. However unpopular that might be to the rest of the world, that's who the Jew is. Right? Right here, any place is the right place for the Ark and the Torah. Right? Chazal say to remind us that Hein Zu Makomo, how beautiful Rashi hits upon an eternal tragic theme. The unfortunate quality of being out of place that so often characterizes truth adds dignity. Rashi says here, the reason why the Nun and Havuchim are here because they are out of place. They Ein Zu Makomo. So he says that's true. When it comes to Torah and Judaism, at first glance, at first blush, it seems like this is not the right place for this to be done. It's not the right place for us to invoke our what's the right word? Might have lost the words today. Our values. Hashkafa. Who said the word hashkafa?
Harshon.
Thank you. Yeah, hashkafa, our values. Doesn't seem like it's always the right place to do it, but that's not correct. It's not correct. Have Torah will travel right? That we can always find the right makom, the right place for Torah, even in normal Jewish society today. Rabbi Lem's writing 1966. However true that message is even ad hayom hazeh. Okay, that is the third thought from Rabbi Lam. Continue on, where Mordechai Chevroni in the Mases Mordechai says the following. It's a very interesting point. So part of the complaints, I wrote an article about complaining once, how there's scientific studies that express that complaining, just like there's secondhand smoke, and secondhand smoke is very dangerous and maybe even worse or the same as somebody that is smoking themselves. Secondhand complaining is just as dangerous to the one that's complaining. When you are, living with complainers, or you connect with complainers, it changes the imaging on your brain. It changes the way your outlook in life as well. So one of the complaints is Zacharnu es hadaga asher nochal b'Mitzrayim chinam. We remember the fish that we ate in Mitzrayim. We remember the kishuim. We remember the cucumbers, the avatichem, the watermelons, the chatzir, the batzedlin, the shumim. We remember all the great food that we ate in Mitzrayim. Now, ask the Gemara already. I don't understand. Doesn't make sense because we had man, and the man could taste like any food. If the man could taste like any food, then what is the difference? Why are they complaining about food? Have the man, make it taste like cucumbers, and good, you're happy. So we're actually recording machlokas about this. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi. Chad amar kol aminim tamu b'man. Tam chameshes aminim halalu lo ta'amu bo. There's a machlokas in the Gemara actually about this, and it's based on this pasuk, and it's because of this question. Why are they complaining? They have the food. They can make the man taste like anything. So one opinion is that the food could taste like anything in the entire world except for these 6 things: the fish, kishuim, avatichem, and the fish and the five fruits and vegetables. The other opinion says no. Mechanamar ta'am kol haminim ta'amo ta'amanu mamashan v'halalu ta'aman v'lo mamashan. One opinion says it can't even taste like these things. The other opinion says that the miracle of the man is that if I wanted the man to taste like sushi, it would not only taste like sushi, but it would feel like sushi in my mouth. If I wanted the man to taste like pizza, it would taste like fresh oven hot pizza. It wouldn't just taste like that, but I would feel it. It would feel like pizza, right? Now he says, one opinion says the man couldn't taste like these 6 things. The other opinion is the man could taste like these 6 things, but you wouldn't have the same sensation. You wouldn't feel it the same way. You wouldn't feel like you're chewing a cucumber, but it would taste like a cucumber. Now, why is that? Why would a Kadosh Baruch Hu remove, right, these 6 things from the options of what, right, the drop-down options? What would you like your man to taste like today? If these were things that they ate in Mitzrayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to remove Mitzrayim from them, right? It was easy enough to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim, but it was much harder to take Mitzrayim out of the Jews, as the saying goes, right? The Kevin Shazehaya Ma'achalam Chaviv Sham Be'es Hayosam B'Memta Sharituma Roi Shlo Yelam Zikaron Klal Me'usozman. Very often, when you may eat something. You're like, I haven't eaten this in such a long time. The eating itself, the sense of the experience of eating whatever food you're eating, brings you back very often to the last time that you ate that food. And it arises the feelings, the sensitivities, the emotions, good or bad, right, positive or negative, of the old time, the last time that you had this, right? We get this very often with smells. You're listening to music, and some music, you have a positive association with because, that was a song that they played at my chuppah. That was the song that was playing on the radio after I, got engaged to my spouse. Who knows? And our senses trigger memories. So the Mases Mordechai suggests that the reason why Kadosh Baruch Hu removed these 6 items from the menu list for the man was specifically because the Kadosh Baruch Hu really wanted to eradicate and to remove the memory or the sensations of Mitzrayim from them, because the memories of Mitzrayim were not positive ones. And you can argue we have an obligation every single day to remember Mitzrayim. I think there's a difference for the ones that went through Mitzrayim themselves. It's one thing to remember it in the past, right? Historically, emotionally or through our senses would be much more personal and would cause us to remember this in a much more real way, in the notion that we'd want to go back there. And that was something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to remove. So fascinating. We don't talk about this much, what the man was, how did it taste. So this Gemara Machlokas Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi definitely address this, and that is what he comes up with over here. The last thought comes from another drasha of Rabbi Lamb. This is from June 19th, 1965, a flair for the undramatic. We're going back to the beginning of the parsha to talk about Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni, right? People approach Moshe and they say, Anachnu tmei lenefesh adam. We are tamei mace, and we were unable to bring the Korban Pesach. Is there anything we want to do it? We miss it, we pine it, we desire it, we're yearning to do that mitzvah, and we missed it. Is there any way that we could do something else to make it up? And that's how the mitzvah of Pesach Sheni comes into play. So how were these people tamei? Anyone know, what were they doing that they were tamei?
They're carrying Aaron's kever.
They were not Aaron.
Yosef's kever.
Yosef's kever, yeah.
Yosef's
There's a lot of
kever.
comparisons between Aaron and Yosef.
Oh.
Yeah, so they were carrying the bones of Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph. So if you think about it, Rabbi Lamb puts us into this is one of his ways, like, it's a nice idea, but then he builds such a beautiful painting based on this thought. He says, if you think about it, this was the first year that they were going to remember Mitzrayim and the miracles of Mitzrayim. This was maybe the first communal mitzvah the Jewish people were going to do, to get together for a Pesach Seder, to remember and to re-experience on a certain level all of the memories and miracles of their personal redemption. And how amazing that would be, and that experience, that first year Mitzrayim, of everybody coming together as a community. And what did these people do? They could have, a few weeks before Pesach in preparation, say, let's get somebody else. I want to experience this with my family. Get somebody else. Get somebody else to do it. I don't need to do it. I've been doing it. I don't want to do it. I need to experience Mitzrayim. I want to do that. I want Pesach. Yet, they chose this mitzvah. They chose to be osek in the kvura of the bones of Yosef. Now he writes like this. They tell us that these anonymous individuals had become defiled because of contact with the mace mitzvah, with an abandoned corpse. So one opinion is it was Yosef, other opinion is it was a mace mitzvah. Now the Jewish law and concept of the mace mitzvah possesses the utmost ethical and spiritual significance. The law states that the greatest act of human benevolence is a chesed shel emes, is a respectful attention one gives to a corpse which no one claims. When an individual dies without friends or relatives to care for him or her, and the first Israelite to chance upon the corpse is obligated to bury it with reverence and dignity. Right? One opinion is it was Yosef. The other opinion is it was a random person that nobody knew. When an individual dies without friends or relatives to care for him or her, it's the obligation of the first person, mace mitzvah, to go. It is an act of proper generosity for which one can expect no compensation from the beneficiary. Who knows? But that this person, who apparently had no friends, no family, no acquaintances to care for him, was probably on the fringes of society, a marginal man, perhaps an outlaw or a derelict. Yet Judaism regards every human being as created in the image of God. This individual, therefore, no matter what his status or achievements, is deserving of the full benefit of our kindness, concern, and our attention. And they chose to forgo the communal national celebrations of Pesach to do a mitzvah, right? To do a mitzvah that was undramatic, that was in the backgrounds, but was the basis for so many of our fundamental mitzvahs in our Torah, which is that every single person was created in the image of God, B'Tselem Elokim. And that is so powerful. That is such a powerful notion that very often the people that get the accolades and get the honors, get the respect, are the people that do the things in public, the big things. But this first mitzvah, the Pesach Sheni mitzvah, teaches us that that's not, that's very important, very significant. But
Rabbi,
just as significant are these individuals. Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Nathan, go ahead.
All right. Everyone is created B'Tselem Elokim. How about, does that include non-Jews, or are we talking to just Jews?
100%. We spoke about that last week in my drasha. Yes, 100%. It's a mission of Pirkei Avos that expresses that very clearly. But Adam Harishon was created B'Tselem Elokim. Adam Harishon, everybody comes from Adam Harishon. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this idea, this notion, and that, Rabbi Lamb argues, that's why Pesach Sheni was created. Pesach Sheni, right, was created for these individuals who were willing to sit in the shadows and not be involved with the community because of this very, very important mitzvah. You think about, somebody needs to be a shomer, right? Sit shmira for a few hours and say Tehillim on behalf of a mace, and how powerful that is, and maybe they're missing out on a simcha, on a celebration, on a shalom zachar on a Friday night. Who knows? But how powerful those mitzvahs behind the scenes are, and how important and necessary they are as part of our Jewish life and our community itself. Okay, just to review, we had 5 thoughts. Number 1, Aaron HaKohen, Shaloshina. What does that mean? The same motivations he had on day 1 are the same motivations he had at the end of his life. The source for Bezras Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Yitzhak Hashem, Pi Hashem Yachanu, that we invoke Hashem's name at every moment of our lives to remind us that it's really to Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is in control. Upstream, the Nunim Hafuchim, the inverted nuns, remind us that to live a life as a Jew is to live a life to oppose what is going on, the common milieus and cultures of the time, and to be okay with being unpopular in our opinions, our thoughts, in our lives. Mordechai Chavroni, about why the machlokes about the man, which is fascinating. Did the man just taste like it? Did it taste and also feel like it? And why these 6 things were removed? And finally, the idea from Rabbi Lamb about the Pesach Sheni, who these people were, and what made them special.
Can you tell me what Masechah that dispute was in about the taste of the man?
Gemara Yuma. Let me see if the source is there. 1 second, I'll tell you. Gemara Yuma, Ayin 75a.
75A.
There's a lot more there. There's a lot more there about the man also.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bezrat Hashem, we'll use these ideas. Claire, I'll get to you in a minute. And I'd be honored to share them on your Shabbos table. I wish everybody a great Shabbos. Tonight, our drasha will take place at 9 p.m. to accommodate for Mincha and Ma'ariv Bezrat Hashem with Minyan. That'll take place at 9. Rain or shine. Even and we'll let people know. That's what I was to say. Who can I ask on the line over here